Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed how one small comment, one rude gesture, or one unexpected situation can completely disturb your peace? It's almost as if we hand over the remote control of our emotions to everyone around us, and then we wonder why our inner world is so chaotic. Today, I want to share with you a simple but powerful secret. When you master your mind, no one else can disturb your peace. Taking back the remote of your mind begins with recognizing how easily we let external situations dictate our internal state. Most people move through life on emotional autopilot. Someone says something rude and irritation rises instantly. A small inconvenience occurs and frustration takes over without resistance. This automatic reaction gives others silent permission to control our emotions. But true emotional maturity starts when you consciously reclaim that power. When you understand that no one can make you angry without your mental participation, you begin to rise above the triggers that once controlled you. Taking back that remote means choosing awareness over impulse. It means observing your emotions with clarity instead of letting them drag you into unnecessary conflict. When someone criticizes you unfairly or speaks in a harsh tone, your mind immediately creates a story. They disrespected me. They shouldn't talk to me like that. They're trying to provoke me. These interpretations ignite anger faster than the situation itself. But when you reclaim control, you pause long enough to question the story. Maybe the person is stressed. Maybe they are struggling internally. Or maybe their behavior has nothing to do with you at all. This shift from reacting to reflecting is the first sign that the remote is back in your hands. When you control the remote of your mind, you learn that emotions are choices, not commands. Just because anger appears does not mean you must obey it. You can feel the heat of irritation rising and still choose not to let it rule your behavior. You can notice disappointment without letting it turn into resentment. You can be aware of disrespect without immediately descending into conflict. The power lies not in suppressing emotions, but in guiding them. Instead of letting anger speak for you, you allow reason, calmness, and maturity to take the lead. Mastering this requires consistent practice. One effective method is detaching from the need for immediate emotional satisfaction. The ego always wants to react. It wants to prove a point, defend itself, and win every interaction. But emotional intelligence teaches the opposite. Not every comment deserves your energy, and not every conflict deserves your response. When you hold the remote, you decide which situations deserve your attention and which situations are simply not worth your peace. This selectivity is a form of wisdom that protects you from draining emotional battles. Another aspect of controlling your internal remote is understanding that peace is a personal responsibility. You cannot expect the world to always behave the way you want. People will be rude, situations will be unfair, and challenges will appear without warning. If your peace depends on perfect circumstances, you will always remain vulnerable. Taking back the remote means creating stability inside yourself, regardless of the chaos outside. It means developing a state of mind that remains centered even when life becomes unpredictable. This control also empowers you to respond with intention rather than impulse. You begin to choose words that uplift rather than escalate. You start making decisions that reflect clarity instead of anger. And most importantly, you cultivate a presence that remains calm even when provoked. This self-mastery does not only improve your emotional well-being, it transforms your relationships, enhances your communication, and strengthens your sense of self-worth. Ultimately, reclaiming the remote of your mind turns you into the driver of your life rather than a passenger being tossed around by external forces. It is the foundation of emotional freedom, the root of inner peace, and the key to reacting not from anger but from wisdom. When you hold that remote firmly, no one's words, actions, or attitudes can overpower your inner stability. You become the one who chooses how you feel, how you respond, and how you move forward, always with intention. discipline, and confidence. Pausing before you react is one of the most transformative emotional skills a person can develop, yet it is often overlooked because reacting feels automatic, immediate, and justified. However, every time you react without pausing, you hand over your emotional control to the situation or the person who triggered you. The pause is not merely a moment of silence, it is a moment of power. It is a window between the stimulus and your response. A space where emotional intelligence, clarity, and wisdom can enter. When you learn to use that space effectively, you begin to shape your reactions instead of being shaped by them. In emotionally charged moments, the mind tends to act faster than reason. The body experiences an instant surge of energy, and the ego feels compelled to defend itself. This automatic response is often driven by past experiences, insecurities, and assumptions rather than the present reality. The pause interrupts this unconscious chain reaction. It gives you the opportunity to breathe, to step back mentally, and to regain command over your emotions. Even a 2-second pause can prevent a word spoken in anger, a decision made in frustration, or an action driven by impulse. It replaces chaos with clarity. When you practice pausing, you train your mind to observe rather than absorb. Instead of instantly taking offense or assuming someone's intention, you analyze the situation objectively. You ask yourself, is this worth reacting to? Is this about me, or is it about their emotional state? Will reacting help or worsen the situation? These internal questions create a buffer that shields you from unnecessary emotional damage. The pause acts as a filter, helping you distinguish between the battles that matter and the ones that drain you without purpose. The beauty of pausing is that it prevents minor triggers from escalating into major conflicts. For instance, a rude comment from someone could spark an argument, or it could simply dissolve with your silence. A misunderstanding could turn into resentment, or it could be clarified calmly. Pausing gives you the chance to choose which direction the moment will take. It turns emotional reactions into thoughtful responses. This not only protects your peace but also elevates your presence. People begin to see you as composed, deliberate, and grounded, someone who is not easily shaken by external noise. Pausing also gives you time to access the deeper parts of your mind where empathy and understanding reside. You may realize that the person who spoke harshly is overwhelmed, stressed, or dealing with their own challenges. You may recognize that the situation is not personal but circumstantial. With this awareness, your reaction becomes more compassionate and less defensive. You start responding from a place of maturity rather than emotional impulse. This shift not only strengthens your relationships, but also helps you maintain a sense of balance even during difficult interactions. In this brief moment of stillness, the breath becomes an important tool. Slow, intentional breathing calms the nervous system and reduces emotional intensity. It signals to your body that you are safe and in control. With a clearer mind, you are able to choose your words with intention and express yourself with confidence rather than anger. This does not make you passive. It makes you powerful. Reacting immediately often leads to regret, but responding thoughtfully leads to respect from others and from yourself. Over time, pausing before you react becomes a habit of emotional discipline. You begin to notice that you feel lighter because you are no longer entangled in unnecessary conflicts. You realize that many situations that once provoked you no longer hold the same power. The pause becomes your shield, your strength, and your path to inner stability. It helps you stay aligned with your values rather than being controlled by temporary emotions. By mastering the art of pausing, you demonstrate emotional maturity at its highest level. You show yourself and the world that your reactions are a choice, not a reflex. And in that choice, you discover a calmness, clarity, and confidence that allows you to navigate life with greater wisdom and strength. Not taking things personally is one of the most liberating skills a person can develop. yet it is also one of the most challenging. Human beings naturally interpret experiences through the lens of their own emotions, insecurities, and assumptions. When someone speaks harshly, behaves rudely, or fails to treat us with respect, it is easy to internalize their actions and believe they are a direct reflection of our worth. But the truth is far more nuanced. Most of the time, people's behavior has far more to do with their internal struggles than with anything we have done. Recognizing this truth can free you from unnecessary emotional burdens and help you rise above situations that once disturbed your peace. When you stop taking things personally, you begin to see that every person carries their own invisible weight, pressures, disappointments, fears, and frustrations. These burdens often manifest as impatience, irritation, or insensitivity. Someone may snap at you, not because they dislike you, but because they are struggling internally. Their tone may reflect exhaustion rather than hostility. Their words may be shaped by stress rather than intent. When you understand this, you give yourself the freedom to detach emotionally instead of absorbing their negativity. You begin to realize that you are not the center of everyone's emotional universe. People act based on the world inside them, not the one outside. Internalizing other people's behavior often stems from our own sensitivities. If you carry self-doubt, even a neutral comment can feel like an attack. If you carry unresolved emotional wounds, small issues can feel magnified. But when you work on your inner stability, the external world has less power to shake you. You begin to view people's actions through a lens of understanding rather than defensiveness. Instead of asking, why are they doing this to me? You start asking, what might they be going through? This shift from self-centered interpretation to empathetic observation is a hallmark of emotional maturity. Not taking things personally does not mean you ignore disrespect or tolerate mistreatment. Instead, it means you no longer allow someone else's poor behavior to define your emotional state. You create a healthy emotional boundary where their actions remain their responsibility, not yours. You choose to evaluate situations with clarity rather than immediate emotional attachment. This approach not only protects your self-esteem, but also gives you the strength to respond rationally rather than react impulsively. When you detach from personalizing everything, communication becomes significantly more effective. You listen to understand rather than to defend. You speak to express rather than to attack. You gain the ability to address issues with calmness instead of confrontation. This strengthens your relationships because people feel heard and respected rather than judged or blamed. At the same time, you also protect your own mind from unnecessary emotional stress, creating balance between sensitivity and stability. This skill also helps you develop resilience. When someone criticizes you unfairly, you no longer absorb the negativity as truth. Instead, you evaluate whether the feedback is constructive or simply a projection of their own issues. When you recognize projection, you gain the power to remain unaffected. You begin to understand that someone's anger does not require your anger in response. Their disappointment does not need to become your emotional burden. Their chaos does not have to disturb your inner calm. By not taking things personally, you embrace emotional freedom. You stop carrying the weight of other people's opinions, moods, and judgments. You learn to stand firm in your own identity and values regardless of external noise. And most importantly, you regain control over your inner world. You choose how you feel, how you interpret situations, and how you respond to life's challenges. This ability allows you to move through life with greater confidence, clarity, and peace, unaffected by the passing storms created by others. Choosing peace over ego is one of the most refined forms of emotional intelligence, yet it requires a level of maturity and self-awareness that many people never fully develop. The ego is driven by the constant need to be right, to be respected, to be acknowledged, and to be in control. It thrives on validation and reacts aggressively when it feels challenged. In contrast, peace is rooted in inner stability. It is the calm assurance that external circumstances do not dictate your inner state. When you learn to choose peace over ego, you elevate yourself from the world of emotional turbulence into the realm of true personal strength. The ego's reactions often feel justified in the moment. If someone speaks rudely, the ego demands that you respond with equal force. If someone questions your ability, the ego pushes you to prove them wrong. If someone disrespects you, the ego insists on defending your pride. However, these reactions rarely produce positive outcomes. They escalate conflicts, damage relationships, and drain your emotional energy. Choosing peace, on the other hand, does not mean you accept disrespect. It means you refuse to be dragged into meaningless battles that offer no growth, only stress. Peace is not surrender. Peace is strategy. When you choose peace, you choose clarity. You recognize that reacting impulsively may satisfy your ego temporarily, but it rarely benefits your future. You start to see that not every disagreement needs a response. Not every insult deserves your attention, and not every challenge requires confrontation. Peace allows you to pause, assess the situation, and respond with intention rather than emotion. It equips you with the wisdom to differentiate between situations that require action and those that are simply not worth your energy. This mindset also shifts the way you communicate. Instead of engaging in defensive arguments, you learn to express yourself with calm authority. Instead of escalating tensions, you diffuse them. When someone raises their voice, you maintain your composure. When someone tries to provoke you, you refuse to react. This does not make you weak, it makes you powerful. People who are easily provoked are controlled by others. People who remain calm are in control of themselves. Your calmness becomes your strength, and your restraint becomes your dignity. Choosing peace over ego also allows you to preserve your emotional resources. The ego constantly seeks battles even when they are unnecessary. It convinces you that you must always respond, always fight, always win. But peace teaches you that winning in life is not about proving others wrong. It is about protecting your mental well-being, your happiness, and your long-term goals. Every time you walk away from a meaningless argument, you are not losing, you are choosing yourself. You are choosing your growth over temporary satisfaction. You are choosing your future over your pride. This choice also transforms your relationships. Interactions with others become smoother because you are no longer operating from a defensive mindset. You begin to understand people more deeply because you are not consumed by the need to protect your ego. You listen more, react less, and speak with purpose. The people around you feel your presence as calm, respectful, and grounded. In turn, they treat you with greater respect because your behavior naturally commands it. Internally, choosing peace creates a profound sense of freedom. You stop feeling the need to defend your image constantly or worry about how others perceive you. You no longer chase validation or fear judgment. Your self-worth becomes anchored within, not tied to external opinions or conflicts. This emotional independence allows you to engage with the world more confidently, without the heaviness of ego-driven reactions. In essence, choosing peace over ego is not about silencing yourself. It is about empowering yourself. It is about rising above negativity, maintaining emotional clarity, and refusing to let temporary emotions shape permanent consequences. When you master this choice, you gain a level of control over your inner world that no external force can disrupt. You become someone who navigates life with strength, wisdom, and unwavering calm, qualities that define true emotional mastery. Letting go of what you cannot control is a cornerstone of emotional stability and personal freedom. Yet, many people waste enormous amounts of mental energy trying to manage situations, behaviors, and outcomes that were never theirs to control in the first place. This struggle creates frustration, anxiety, and unnecessary anger. When you learn to release the illusion of control, you create space for peace, acceptance, and clarity to enter your life. You begin to focus on what actually lies within your power, your thoughts, your reactions, your decisions, rather than exhausting yourself over things that do not depend on you. The need for control often stems from fear. Fear of uncertainty, fear of being hurt, fear of failure, or fear of being misunderstood. When situations feel unpredictable, the mind instinctively tries to manage every variable in hopes of creating a perfect outcome. But life does not operate according to our expectations. People will act in ways we cannot predict. Circumstances will shift without warning. Challenges will arise no matter how carefully we plan. When you cling too tightly to control, every deviation feels like a personal attack on your peace. Learning to let go does not mean being passive. It means understanding the limits of your influence and freeing yourself from unnecessary emotional strain. Letting go begins with accepting reality as it is, rather than how you wish it to be. This acceptance does not indicate weakness. It represents strength. It takes maturity to acknowledge that certain situations cannot be changed, and that certain people will never behave the way you expect. Instead of resisting what is, you learn to adapt, adjust, and move forward with grace. This mindset protects your emotional well-being because you stop fighting battles that exhaust your spirit and offer no meaningful progress. When you let go of control, you begin to channel your energy more wisely. Instead of obsessing over someone's attitude, you focus on your response. Instead of trying to change someone's behavior, you strengthen your boundaries. Instead of worrying about future outcomes, you commit to present actions. This shift in focus empowers you. You stop reacting to life and start responding with intention. You stop trying to force situations and begin flowing with them. Life becomes lighter because you no longer carry the impossible task of controlling everything around you. This mindset also reduces anger significantly. Much of our anger comes from unmet expectations. Expecting people to act a certain way, expecting situations to unfold according to our plans, expecting the world to behave predictably. When reality doesn't match these expectations, frustration arises. By letting go, you loosen these rigid expectations and open yourself to greater emotional flexibility. You understand that not everything is personal, not everything is permanent, and not everything is within your domain to fix. Letting go does not mean giving up on effort or ambition. It means refusing to sacrifice your peace for outcomes you cannot guarantee. It means giving your best without being crushed by the results. It means trusting that some things will resolve in their own time and that your emotional state does not need to collapse while waiting for life to unfold. This approach provides emotional resilience, the strength to remain calm when things don't go according to plan, the patience to endure uncertainty, and the wisdom to stay grounded even when circumstances feel chaotic. This perspective also enhances your relationships. When you stop trying to control others, you create space for healthier interactions. You listen more openly, respect differences more deeply, and avoid unnecessary conflicts. You allow people to be themselves without imposing your expectations on them. As a result, communication becomes more genuine and less reactive. You become someone who can handle challenges with composure rather than confrontation. Ultimately, letting go of what you cannot control gives you freedom. The freedom to choose peace over pressure, clarity over chaos, and emotional strength over constant struggle. It allows you to live with greater ease, deeper understanding, and a stronger sense of self. When you no longer force life to follow your timeline or your script, you discover that peace was always within your reach, waiting for you to release what was weighing you down. Strengthening your inner world daily is one of the most effective ways to protect yourself from external disturbances and maintain consistent emotional balance. The mind, like a muscle, grows stronger with regular practice, discipline, and attention. Every thought you cultivate, every habit you nurture, and every moment of self-reflection contributes to building resilience against anger, frustration, and unnecessary worry. When your inner world is fortified, you no longer depend on external validation or circumstances to feel stable. Instead, your peace becomes self-sustaining, impervious to the unpredictable behavior of others. Developing this strength begins with self-awareness. You must observe your thoughts, emotions, and habitual reactions with honesty and clarity. Many people live reactively, swept along by impulses and triggered by minor irritations, without pausing to understand why they feel a certain way. By examining your internal patterns, you gain insight into what provokes you, what drains you, and what empowers you. Awareness allows you to identify emotional weaknesses and address them consciously rather than unconsciously reacting to external stimuli. Over time, this practice creates a strong foundation upon which mental and emotional resilience can be built. Daily practices play a crucial role in reinforcing your inner world. Meditation, mindfulness, and reflective journaling provide moments of stillness where the mind can recharge and develop clarity. These practices train you to observe emotions without being consumed by them, creating a buffer between stimulus and response. Breathing exercises, for example, teach the nervous system to remain calm during stressful moments, allowing rational thought to guide your actions rather than impulsive reactions. Gratitude practices shift your focus from what is lacking or irritating to what is abundant and positive, reinforcing a sense of stability and contentment, regardless of external circumstances. Another vital component of strengthening the inner world is cultivating emotional intelligence. Understanding the root causes of your feelings, as well as empathizing with the experiences of others, reduces the likelihood of unnecessary anger or irritation. Emotional intelligence teaches you to respond with intention, patience, and wisdom, rather than reacting from impulsive emotional triggers. It equips you with the tools to navigate interpersonal challenges gracefully and maintain composure even when faced with provocation or negativity. Consistency is key to this process. Just as physical strength develops through regular exercise, emotional and mental fortitude grows through repeated practice. Each day presents an opportunity to reinforce inner stability, whether it is through mindful reflection, deliberate breathing, or consciously choosing not to react to minor provocations. Over time, these small daily efforts accumulate, creating a resilient inner landscape that remains grounded regardless of external turbulence. You become less susceptible to anger, frustration, or disappointment because your emotional equilibrium is rooted in conscious cultivation rather than fleeting circumstances. Strengthening your inner world also involves aligning with your core values. When your actions, thoughts, and decisions are in harmony with your principles, you experience less internal conflict, which reduces emotional vulnerability. Clarity about what truly matters to you allows you to navigate challenges with focus and composure. You stop being distracted by trivial provocations or superficial judgments and prioritize what aligns with your long-term vision and peace of mind. This internal fortitude translates into every area of life. You interact with others from a place of calm authority rather than defensiveness. You make decisions grounded in rationality instead of emotion, and you handle setbacks with patience instead of frustration. The stronger your inner world becomes, the less external negativity can penetrate it. Your sense of self, your confidence, and your serenity become self-sufficient, unshaken by the temporary storms of life. Ultimately, daily cultivation of your inner world is an investment in emotional independence and resilience. It empowers you to remain centered in the face of provocation, to act with purpose instead of impulse, and to experience life with clarity, strength, and enduring calm. By consistently nurturing your inner landscape, you create a mind that is disciplined, balanced, and capable of maintaining peace in every circumstance. So today I invite you to take back the remote control of your mind. Stop letting others decide how you should feel. Remember, you cannot stop people from being who they are, but you can stop allowing their behavior to disturb your peace. When you respond with calmness instead of anger, with understanding instead of irritation, you rise above the situation. And that, my friends, is true strength. Choose peace, choose wisdom, and choose to live a life where no one, not even for a moment, can shake your inner happiness. Thank you.